Okay, so we are back. And yeah, are you ready to go there, Sister Marissa?
Yep, I'm ready.
Perfect. I'll mute my mic and turn off my video here. So you got the spotlight, sister.
All right. I would turn my video on, but I sit in my bathroom to play for you guys, so it's like the only quiet room in the house. I got 5 songs for you. Love him with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. Love him with all your heart, with all your
Ruach, Yahuah. Beautiful.
Praise Yah. It's like our fellowship Shema.
Yeah, I love it. It's my favorite. 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I was just looking at the chat, what you guys were saying. Oh, how high would I climb mountains if the mountains were where you hide? Oh, how far I'd scale the valleys if you graced the other side. Oh, how long have I chased rivers from lowly seas to where they rise against a rush of grace descending from the source of its supply. 'Cause in the highlands and the heartache, you're neither more or less inclined. I would search and stop at nothing. You're just not that hard to find. I will praise you on the mountain. I will praise you when the mountain's in my way. You're the summit where my feet are. I will praise you in the valleys all the same. No less out within the shadows. No less faithful when the night leads me astray. You're the heaven where my heart is. In the highlands and the heartache all the same. Oh, oh. Oh, how far beneath your glory does your kindness extend the path from where your feet rest on the sunrise to where you sweep the sinner's path. Oh, how fast would you come running if just a shadow me through the night? Trace my steps through all my failure and walk me out the other side. For who could dare ascend that mountain, that valley hill called Calvary? But for the one I call Good Shepherd, who like a lamb was slain for me. I will praise you on the mountain. I will praise you when the mountain's in my way. You're the summit where my feet are. I will praise you in the valleys all the same. No less out within the shadows. No less faithful when the night leads me astray. You're the heaven where my heart is. In the highlands and the heartache all the same. Oh, oh, whatever I walk through, wherever I am, your name can move mountains wherever I stand. If ever I walk through the valley of death, I'll sing through the shadows my song of ascent. Whatever I through wherever I am. Your name can move mountains wherever I stand. If ever I walk through the valley of death, I'll sing through the shadows my song of ascent. From the gravest of all the valleys come the pastures we call grace, a mighty river flowing upwards from a deep but empty grave. I will praise you on the mountain. I will praise you when the mountain's in my way. You're the summit where my feet are. I will praise you in the valleys all the same. No less held within the shadows, no less faithful when the night leads me astray. You're the heaven where my heart is. In the highlands and the heartache all the same. Praise Yah.
Barak, Yahuah, thank you, sister. Love it.
Yeah. I'm so glad you guys like that one. Awesome. My Father, you are the guide of my youth. Is your anger forever? Will you keep it to the end? I have gone up every high mountain and under every green tree. I have played the harlot and turned from thee. My Father said, you have spoken and done evil things as you could. Lift up your eyes unto the high places. I will not cause my anger to fall upon you. Come back to me, Yasharel, I am married unto you. Return to me. I am merciful, I will forgive you. I will take you one of a city and two of a family. I will bring you to Zion. I shall give you shepherds after my own heart, and they shall feed you with knowledge of my word. Come back to me, Yasharel, I am married unto you. Return to me. I am merciful, I will forgive you. You will not walk anymore after the stubbornness am married unto you. Return to me. I am merciful, I will forgive you. I am merciful, I will forgive you. I am merciful, I will forgive you.
Barak Yahuah. Love it.
I love that song.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Kelly, that was the song I wrote back in November. I mean, I hate saying I wrote because it's really all scripture, but yeah, I put that one together back in November. That one and Shema is the only original ones that I have today. So, okay. I got two more. I've been wandering through the desert, ain't seen a cloud forever over me, but I believe your rain is coming. Yeah, I've been hanging on high hopes, 'cause you're the one who's making dry bones come to life. You're the light I put my trust in. Every word you say is gonna come true. You will lead me to the promised land. Everything you say is gonna happen, even though I haven't seen it yet. I will build a boat in the sand where they say it never rains. I will stand up in faith. I'll do anything it takes with your winds in my sails. Your love never fails or fades. I'll build a boat in the desert place, and when the flood and the waters start to rise, yeah, I'll ride the storm. I got you by my side with your winds in my sails. Your love never fails or fades. I'll build a boat, so let it rain. You're the map, you're my compass. You help me navigate the currents underneath. Take the lead, I surrender. Every word you say is gonna come true. You will lead me to the promised land. Everything you say is gonna happen, even though I haven't seen it yet. I will build a boat in the sand where they say it never rains. I will stand up in faith. I'll do anything it takes with your wind in my sails. Your love never fails or fades. I'll build a boat in the desert place, and when the flood and the waters start to rise, yeah, I'll ride the storm. I got you by my side with your winds in my sails. Your love never fails or fades. I'll build a boat, so let it rain. I'll build a boat, so let it rain.
Barak Yahuah, love it.
Tabitha told me the other day that she likes that song, so I wanted to play it for her. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, Yahuah, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, Yahuah, that is who you are. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you. I worship you. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop. You never stop working. You never stop. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop. You never stop working. You never stop. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop. You never stop working. You never stop. You never stop working. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, Yahuah, that is who you are. 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 Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, Yahuah, that is who you are. 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 Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sister. Love it. Barak Yahuah.
Thank you, Marissa. Barak Yahuah.
Praise Abba.
So, no, we appreciate it. Very beautiful music. And yeah, no, we love your singing, sister, truly, truly. And it means a lot. So, I wanted to, let me go ahead and share my screen. Now go over the reading of chapter 12 of my book. You play when I'm done with my book. Yeah. Awesome. Do it. So, so this is chapter 12. I know we covered the calendar I want to say last Shabbat. It wasn't last Shabbat because, well, actually it was because Marissa covered the calendar. But before then, we went over the chapter covering the calendar as well. So, is anyone going to measure the equinox? Yeah, absolutely, brother. I got videos on my YouTube measuring it, actually. When we were all there in Missouri, it was fun. So yeah, I wanted to, well, let's start with reading or continue with reading chapter 12, and it's titled The Mishmarot and Priestly Courses. And, if anybody has any questions or anything, feel free to put it in the chat or whatever. But we'll definitely go over some questions afterwards as well, if anyone has any. So let's continue, let's begin. Goodness. So, according to 1 Chronicles 24, chapters 24 to 26, the Levitical priests were organized into different courses or divisions. These divisions are used to serve in rotation to give the priests a rest from the duties and offerings that had to be done even on Sabbath and festival days. There's someone who teaches you can't celebrate Sukkot. Yeah, we've covered that, sister. And, the book of Acts, we see Paul observing, unleavened bread in Philippi. That's outside of Jerusalem. So, yeah. No, in Exodus it says where Yahuah chooses to put his name. That's what it says. At that time it was Jerusalem. It's not Jerusalem anymore. And if you want to go to the north to try to go to the actual Jerusalem, good luck with that. Anyways, I digress. So let me continue here. So basically these priests, the priestly duties were they had to do the offerings, the sacrifices, the slaughterings, all these different things, even on the high Shabbats and the weekly Shabbats. And we know Yahusha covers this because he speaks about it as well. So this priestly course, it was actually designed to give the priests a break from their duties throughout the year. You know at least about the priestly courses. All right. So which one we are at, I would talk to Marissa. I don't think we know exactly which one we're at, but there's just so much that has been lost in history. And when it comes to timelines especially, they are very difficult to figure out and pinpoint exactly where we're at. But we can make our best guesstimate, I guess you can say, is what it is. Yeah, just follow Yahuah. Exactly. All right, sorry, let me continue. So the term which is rendered as course is in Hebrew Mishmar or Mishmarot. So Mishmar, the singular of course, Mishmarot is courses. So It's the one used in the Dead Sea Scroll sources, such as the Scroll of the War of the Sons of Light against the Sons of Darkness, and 4Q320. And according to 1 Chronicles 23:1, it was King David who divided all the priests and Levites according to their families and clans and assigned them their tasks in the temple. This arrangement is attributed to David, also in the description of the dedication of the temple by Solomon in 2 Chronicles chapter 8, verse 14. So the text of Nehemiah 12, verses 45 and 46, ascribes the assignment of tasks to Levite priests to both David and Solomon. There's no reference about the working arrangements in the temple anywhere in the scriptures. Anywhere else in the scriptures, sorry. Neither is there any allusion to courses among the detailed instructions for the priests and Levites in scripture. And it would appear that even the listing of divisions of priests and singers and porters, as given in 1 Chronicles 24 and 26, dates from the Second Temple era, and that they reflect a Second Temple reality. And again, the Second Temple, this was also when the Temple of Onias was in operation in Egypt, the true temple to Yahuah, the fulfillment of Isaiah 19. So it's a conclusion based off the comparison of the lists in 1 Chronicles 24 with the list of the priestly families in the book of Ezra and Nehemiah and the Dead Sea Scroll sources. It is rabbinical writings that pair up the moon phases to their priestly cycles, and many attempt to apply this same method to the priestly cycles found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. This will not work. As quoted from the rabbinic writings. So before I continue and read this quote, people like to claim it's a full moon, it's a new moon, so forth and so on, and what's known as 4Q320, Dead Sea Scroll. And that's the priestly courses. And we covered that before. A lot of people claim it's the moon. And it's because of Giza Vermes, how he inserted a new moon in there in the parentheses. So a lot of people just go with that. And so they have that rabbinical mindset when it comes to things. And they're like, well, the rabbis do it, so it must be right. Just like with the festivals and things like that. Oh, their calendar is this way, so it must be right. No, let's stop that thinking. They are not right. The priestly courses, they don't, how should I word this? They are not determined by the phase of the moon, like a sliver and a full moon and things like that. It's actually these stations, the lunar stations, that determines it, but it's the stars as well. So it's the stars observed from evening to morning that we see in the Dead Sea Scrolls, 4Q320. Can I go over why Michael Wise put the moon phases in his Dead Sea Scroll book too? Yes, I will, sister, actually. We're going to get to that. I have it specifically. I have a section specifically about Michael Wise and Giza. And yes, we're going to definitely get into why Michael Wise also went with that as well. So this is from different rabbinical writings. This is specifically the Mishnah, chapter 4, verses 1 through 5. It's also paralleled by what they call the Tosefta, chapter 3, verses 1 through 8. So containing here Baratot in connection with the connotation of the Mishmarot and the Mamadot, with the text better than that of the Mishnah. So their Mishnah is where they get citing these different phases of the moon from. The establishment of 24 priestly courses and the order of their service, as described in 1 Chronicles 24, was meant to be a permanent arrangement. When this order was established and at what time the list was made is not known. In any event, it was a late development, and at least 1 or 2 generations after the time of High Priest Joachim, to which the list of priestly clans in Nehemiah 12 is attributed. And that's the thing, there's a slight difference between the Chronicles and Nehemiah list. So various scholars date this list to the beginning of the Hasmonean, the usurper's era, since, this is the difference, since Jehoram, sorry, the representative of the Hasmonean clan, heads the list in 1 Chronicles 24, whereas in Nehemiah, his name is 16th on the list. So we see a little bit of playing around there by the scribes is what's going on. And when we look at the comparison of the complete Dead Sea Scrolls and other translations, we will see many of the moon phases found in the complete Dead Sea Scrolls are author's insertions and do not exist in the original form. So we're going to read from Giza of Hermes, the complete Dead Sea Scrolls. And I'm not saying, avoid buying this at all costs. No, I actually recommend buying it because it does contain fragments that other versions and translations don't contain. But, so this is Mishmarot A is what it's known as, and 4Q320 is what I just mentioned earlier, and this is fragment 1, the first verses. So the 3 dots represent a basically missing text. And I, blank, to show it from the east, and cause it to shine in the middle of heaven, in the foundation of the creation, from evening till morning. Then we see here, in parentheses, there is a full moon. On the 4th day in the week of the sons of Gamul, in the 1st month of the 1st year. And so we see this is taken directly from Giza of Hermes, the complete Dead Sea Scrolls. In these parentheses, he inserts, there is a full moon. This is not part of the original text. It does not say that. What actually is the truth is it's the stars being observed from evening to morning. And I know I've covered that. I know Marissa's covered that. And I believe, actually, I covered it a little bit here as well. But on the 4th day in the week of the sons of Gamul. So a lot of translations will also insert a Wednesday here, which is not part of the original text. And that's what a lot of people like to use as saying, yeah, see, Wednesdays in the Dead Sea Scrolls. No. It's not. Not at all. That's an author's insertion. So continuing, the words in parentheses are author's insertions by Giza of Hermes, just as we also see in many translations of Scripture, meaning they are insertions from the author's interpretation of what a particular verse can mean. The phrase, quote unquote, there is a full moon, is inserted and not in the original text. If we use Florentino Garcia Martinez's version, the Dead Sea Scrolls Translated, which is actually one of my favorites, he translates it the most accurately without all the insertions and things like that. But continuing, we're going to see, again, 4Q320, Mishmarot A, same fragment, same column. So to display itself from the east and shine in the center of the sky at the base of the vault from evening to morning on the 4th day of the week of the sons of Gamul in the 1st month of the 1st year. So what rises in the east and shines in the center of the sky in the spring? Jubilees tells us it's the stars, not the moon. And Jubilees chapter 12, verses 16 through 18 here. And in the 6th week, on the 5th year, Abraham sat up through the night on the head of the 7th month to observe the stars from evening to morning. And it's that same exact phrase that we just read in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which the sons of Zadok had Jubilees as their canon. So we see the exact same phrase, exact same statement, and we see that it's the stars. And it's in order to see what would be the character of year with regard to the rain. He was alone and he sat and observed. The word came into his heart, and he said, all the signs of the stars and the signs of the moon and the sun are all in the hand of Yahuah. Why do I search them out? If he desires, he causes it to rain morning and evening. And if he desires, he withholds it, and all matters are in his hand. This method is also verified, so what Abraham is talking about here is found in the what's called the astrological physiognomies. Tough word. And that's actually 4Q 186. And it kind of explains how different signs and things in the stars and with the rains and things like that will kind of determine whether you're going to have like a rainy year or a dry year ahead. And again, it's not like witchcraft or forecasting or anything like that. It's just using what Yahuah has to show us, like to make a modern day example. So like if we have like a dry, super hot summer, at least here in Arizona, we know it's going to be like a very dry winter as well. Whereas if there's more rains and things like that, it'll be more of a wetter, colder winter. So in that kind of context. But let me continue. So we see that same phrase here in Jubilees 12, from evening to morning, as we read in 4Q320. And it's about the stars, not a full moon, or any moon phase. This proves it wasn't the moon the sons of Zadok were observing from evening to morning in 4Q320. And not to mention the moon is not always out in the evening, but during the daylight as well. And that's another problem. So this is Mishmarot B, also called 4Q321. And I have the whole thing here. I just want to read a couple of the phrases here because we're going to get into the word dukkha. So on the first day in the week of Jediah, which falls on the 12th, the 7th month. The second day in the week of Abaya, which falls on the 25th in the 8th month. And dukkha is on the third day in the week of Miyamim. And then so we'll continue down and see dukkha, dukkha, dukkha. So a lot of translations, you will not see dukkha here. You will see like new moon or full moon or what have you, you know. So let me continue down. So when we read through 4Q321, interesting name, but that's the scroll name, 4Q321, we also see the moon phases from Giza Ramiz, also Michael Wise. The complete Dead Sea Scrolls are again not in there in the above translation by S. Talman and I. Knoll, or in the original text. Instead, we see the word used is dukkha. So what is the dukkha? This is an excerpt from the Michael Wise and Cooks, a new translation of the Dead Sea Scrolls. So beyond the problem of intercalation, another basic area of ignorance hindering the complete understanding of the calendars involves the meaning of the recurrent Hebrew term dukkha. This word, describing one of the phases of the moon, this is an author's opinion, occurs frequently in the synchronistic calendars, or known as Text 72. The system of lunar observation associated with the term, again, author's opinion, this is Michael Wise's opinion, clearly underlies other texts as well. Again, another opinion, even though they don't mention dukkha. So what he is saying here is, so you'll see dukkha or they insert it rather into these other scrolls, 4Q, 318, 319, 320, things like that. So what they're saying here is, well, dukkha is not exactly there, but we're just going to insert, new moon or full moon here just because we feel that it fits. And they admit to this right here. It's astounding what people admit to in their own writings. Anyways, let me continue. So before the discovery of the scrolls, scholars have never encountered this word. Knowledge of the ancient Hebrew is far from perfect, and quite a bit of lost vocabulary has been recovered from the scrolls. So reasoning from etymology, dukkha most likely means carefully examined. And here is where they admit, do we see moon in there at all? No. They admit it just means carefully examined. But what is being examined? Precisely. Scholars are still debating the options for dukkha, and a reasonable case can be made for either approach. So they're talking about the full moon or the sliver moon approach. And no, that's rabbinical. Anyways, the authors of this book do not themselves agree on what it means, but have decided to translate according to the full moon option. So even the authors, these Michael Wise and Cook, they don't agree on what it means, but they're just like, we'll just agree and we'll go with this full moon option. That works. Unfortunately, the effect of that is there are so many people who have an understanding of the Mishmarot, and that understanding includes following full moons or sliver moons. And we know that that's not what it was about at all. And the reason is because that's what the mainstream narrative promotes as well, as we can see by Michael Wise and Cook's own admission here. And as you can see, the authors took it upon themselves to declare the meaning as different phases of the moon, when scholars do not agree about the meaning. Dukkha does not even exist in 4Q320, only in 4Q321. And we believe it's not a certain phase or sliver of the moon, but rather which gate and which Mazzaroth sign it is moving through as a witness, the lunar stations. The lunar stations. Sorry, I said it and didn't realize I was going to read it next. Not a determining factor. So more about this later. Not a single calendar fragment in the Dead Sea Scrolls mentions the Hebrew word Yarach. The translators have added the words new moon and full moon in place of the Hebrew word dukkha, which technically means carefully examined. We also see the claim that dukkha was an unknown word, but in fact, this statement is untrue, and we can find this word in Scripture, and that's another claim. So it's spelled almost identically the same. And they're like, well, we've never seen this word before. But wait, when you look in the Strong's Concordance, specifically H1751, we see duke. And it means to pound, crush, or pulverize. Duke, dukkha. So some people, they call it dukkha. Some people will call it duke. That is used in the Dead Sea Scrolls. So this verb is used in context of describing the action of crumbling or breaking into small pieces. In Daniel chapter 2, verse 35, the word is used to describe the crumbling of the statue in Nebuchadnezzar's dream, which is ground to powder by the wind. Then, looking into the history of these authors, we will see a connection to the Hasmonean usurpers. First, we're going to go over Giza Vermes. So not only have we seen that, well, this word is not some kind of never ever before seen word, it's a familiar word. Second, we're going to see this connection here to the usurpers, I can't think of the word, the willingness to just give their authority and just bow down to the synagogue of Hasatan is what it is. So this is from Wikipedia, and for Giza Vermes, he was a British academic, biblical scholar, and Judaist of Jewish Hungarian descent. There it is. One who also served as, well, a Roman Catholic priest in his youth. So what is a Roman Catholic, what is a person of Judaism who practices Catholicism called? A Jesuit. So his youth, and scholars specialized in the field of history of religion particularly ancient Judaism and early Christianity. There's that connection again. And he is best known for his complete translation of the Dead Sea Scrolls into English. His research focused on the Dead Sea Scrolls and other ancient Hebrew writings in Aramaic, such as the Targums and the life and religion of quote-unquote Jesus. So all those people who like to, push the Targums, like, oh, look, the Targums, they have all this hidden wisdom and knowledge and things like that. Look who translated them. Yeah, that guy was all over the place. He really was. And honestly, that's the thing. A lot of people do not notice and realize these connections, and they're kind of glanced over. Oops, sorry, and brushed over. What happened here? Sorry. Why did it do that? Oops. All right, my bad. I accidentally clicked my mouse button when I was talking with my hands. Give me a moment here. Come on, load up. Anyways, so those who promote the Targum, they push it up as, this hidden knowledge, things like that. We see where it comes from. So let me get back to where we were. Apologies. My fat finger syndrome here. Okay, there we were. All right. Okay. So let's continue. So, he was a Roman Catholic priest. Let's see, where was I? Okay. So he wrote the Targums and a book called The Life and Religion of Jesus. Vermes was one of the most important voices in contemporary Jesus research. And this is from Wikipedia. And he has been described as the greatest Jesus scholar of his time. Excuse me. So, this should be obvious, Mishpah. So Vermes' written work on Jesus focuses principally on the Jewishness of the historical Jesus. Of course. We should all know here, Yahusha HaMashiach was not Jewish. He followed the way. He rebuked the Jews for their adding to the laws, statutes, commands, and Torah, making it burdensome for the people. I digress. Let me continue. So, as seen in the broader context of the narrative scope of Jewish history and theology, while questioning and challenging the basis of Christian doctrine on Jesus. And this is from Wikipedia on Giza Vermes himself. So, Jesus, Zeus, Jewish of Israel. Exactly, Natalie. We could see all of that in this just one Wikipedia statement about him. It should be very clear for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. Mishpaha, truly. Anyways, let me continue. So we can see Giza Vermes was not only of Jewish descent, he served as a Catholic priest. So he's basically a Jesuit without them admitting fully to this. And as a Jesuit is a Jew posing as a Catholic, like I just kind of briefly mentioned earlier. No wonder the appeal to the usurper's authority on inserting the phases of the moon and not including the Cave 7 New Testament findings. So if you remember in chapter, I think it's 3, the New Testament connection, we went over the Cave 7 fragment findings and how Giza Vermes refused to include them in his complete Dead Sea Scrolls, even though they were verified as authentic fragments. Giza Vermes brushed them off as unauthentic and gave no reason or information or evidence to back up his claim. He just, well, now we see why. So the complete Dead Sea Scrolls in English, Giza Vermes ignores the claim that 7Q5 contains Mark 6, 52, and 53, and dismisses it as a clearly unprovable hypothesis. So we know Cave 7 contained way more fragments than just Mark, but let me continue. So this is in the appendix of the complete Dead Sea Scrolls, or page 441. And yet he appears to offer no satisfactory explanation why. Neither does he include the actual text in his book. This begs the question, just how complete is his version? And this is a quote from the Dead Sea Scrolls, 7Q5. Mark's Gospel and the Resurrected Christ is the name of the article. And there is a link to the source. I know I have it in the fellowship library somewhere as well. I'll have to look for that later. It's buried somewhere. But let me continue. So this reveals that Giza Vermes was part of the plot to hide major evidence of the Dead Sea Scrolls' authenticity and works for the usurpers. As for Dr. Michael Wise, PhD, not much can be found about his background, but he did study at many Jesuit-controlled universities. So we went over what Jesuits are. We know that a lot of these universities are actually Jesuit-controlled. This is actually where peer-reviewed comes from, the Jesuits, to control the narrative. But I digress. Let's continue. But Michael Wise, there's not a lot that you can find about his background. It seems to be kind of hidden. What are they trying to hide? I can't tell you. But usually when that happens, it's not a positive thing. So he's a scholar in residence, professor of the Hebrew Bible and ancient languages from the usurpers themselves. Anyways, PhD from the University of Minnesota, PhD from the University of Chicago, an MDiv from Trinity Evangelical Divinity School, and a BA from the University of Minnesota. Additional graduate study at the University of Minnesota. Sorry. As scholar in residence, Dr. Wise's area of focus is ancient Judaism as a background to the rise of Christianity. We see that same narrative here with Dr. Wise as we do with Giza Vermes. The connection of Judaism and Christianity, blending it together. This is where these modern religions come from, these different sects of these different religions, Judaism, Christianity, things like that. This is a narrative that is pushed to hide the fact. Yahusha, the apostles, nobody in the New Testament was following Christianity. None of them were following Judaism. They were following the way. They were following the word of Yahuah. But I digress. We see that same just narrative being pushed, worded differently, so you don't notice that that's how they work. So he has studied the Semitic languages in order to immerse himself in rabbinic texts and in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Hence that connection as well, connecting the Mishmarot priestly courses that the rabbis use with the ones in the Dead Sea Scrolls. What rabbinic texts? The ones we just covered, the Mishmarot, the Talmud, all these different texts from rabbis. So he uses over 20 languages in his research. And we know the study of the modern Hebrew is more of a Yiddish Babylonian influence on it. So this is what he has been studied into, and he pushes these different translations and translates them the way they're translated. And we were finally able to answer your question there, Sister Natalie. And so here we can also see where he appeals to the usurper's authority as well, from studies in rabbinic texts, and hence the decision to define the word dukkha as different moon phases, as found in the rabbinic text. Based on this information, some people utilize the priestly cycle found in the Dead Sea Scrolls and anchor their Sabbath to the Gregorian calendar, and their false insertions about moon phases that are claimed to coincide with the solar cycle in the priestly order every 6 years. This is untrue. And there is a Zadok calendar out there. I'm not going to name names. Gospel worth dying for. Sorry. Anyways, I'm being silly. But no, truly. So we've tried to talk with Robert and Gina there. We've tried to reason together with them. But they are absolutely stuck on the Gregorian week. They absolutely insist that this priestly cycle resets every 6 years. And when you ask them for evidence in the Dead Sea Scrolls, evidence in scriptures, just any kind of evidence at all, it's just an opinion that they form out of nowhere. And that's the whole runaround we've had with them in the past going through this. Of course, I'm not bashing or trashing them. I would love for them to come to this understanding and just see. But this is what they claim. And we're going to go over exactly why this is invalid. So the calendar determines a priestly cycle, not the other way around. And that's what they say as well. It's the priestly cycle that determines the calendar. So which came first, the calendar or the priestly cycle? It was the calendar. Because the priestly cycle, as we just read, wasn't around until David and Solomon. So for them to make a claim that it's going to determine the calendar, it's out of bounds. I don't have any other words for it. But let me continue. So there are other years that will match up to this same cycle that they claim as well. And some state this cycle repeats itself every 294 years. This is found to be incorrect after careful examination. The moon's cycles have a pattern of 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 5, 6. So speaking about years. So you see, there's a reset cycle that makes it not land in this same order perpetually, this every 6 years that they claim. So to say that every year 1 and year 4 are the same, to say every year 2 and 5 are the same, and meaning moon phases, or every year 3 and 6 are the same, is not being truthful. The reason is the solar cycle is 365.24, not 364. The moon doesn't fall behind 10 days every year, rather 11.24. And we goodness, apologies for my unclear speech. So we researched the moon from every angle to see if it shows us when to intercalate, or if it's for sabbatical and jubilee years. Using the menorah on a Gregorian week is not right, as this method does not use the luminaries as a foundation at all, but rather a man-made week. How would the sons of Zadok know how to intercalate to a Wednesday when the Gregorian calendar didn't exist at that time? Wednesday didn't exist. So how can they intercalate to a Wednesday if it didn't exist? Sorry, let me see the chat. Juga is closely examined and has nothing to do with the moon phase ever. Yeah, correct. Not at the beginning of the priestly course year 1. Never ever, correct. Yeah, correct. So that's actually the lunar stations that Sister Marissa had found that actually determine these things. And we're going to get into a bit of that here in just a moment. So an intercalation is something we should be observing from Yahuah, that is the oath or the sign, not a man-made week. If you don't intercalate a week every 6 years using this method, your years will begin drifting backwards from the Tekufa, the equinox. And in 20 years, your calendar will begin in the winter. So the Tekufa is actually the day after the equinox. I just noticed that that was still in there. So anyways, the Tekufa is the day after the equinox. And in 20 years, your calendar will begin in the winter. There is nothing in Scripture that says to add 7 days at any time, or even a month. We have tracked the Prisi cycles for the claimed 294 years, and they don't miss a beat, meaning there is no evidence of any week intercalation. And to suggest that all the priests served in this extra week is speculation at best. It's not found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, none of that. So if the sons of Zadok had Jubilees as their foundation, and it warns us about making observations of the moon, why do some insist that they were observing moon phases? Also, why do people insist on syncing up this information using Wednesday and citing moon phases? That is the 4th day of the Gregorian week, which they will say coincides with the day that the sun was created. But the Sabbath is not anchored to the construct of this world, i.e., the Gregorian weekdays. The true Sabbath is anchored to Yahuah's great sign that we can physically observe shining here on earth, as it is in heaven. Using the moon's phases to determine the Prisi cycles stems from a rabbinic text, and when attempting to line up these phases, they do not line up as they are made to appear as they do by the author's insertions. So here we're going to get into the 24 courses in Scriptures, the 24 elders, the celestial order. And again, this information all here was found by Sister Marissa. I'm not taking any credit for it. This is all her work and research over the course of several years, researching, studying out the moon, things like that. So the 24 elders surrounding the throne are not arbitrary. In David's time, the priesthood was divided into 24 courses, each serving in rotation before Yahuah. Revelation echoes this number, describing 24 elders clothed in white and crowned, seated around the throne in worship. Even in the heavens, the moon's path can be divided into 24 stations, reflecting that same appointed order. These parallels show that priestly service and the stations of the luminaries are interconnected, each bearing witness to the structured design of Yahuah's creation. And just need some water here really quickly. All right. So 1 Chronicles 24, 1 through 19, David divides Aharon's descendants into 24 priestly courses to serve in rotation at the temple. 1 Chronicles 28:13, David gives instructions for how the priests and Levites should carry out the service of Yahuah. In 2 Chronicles 8:14, Solomon maintains David's divisions, keeping the temple order intact. In 2 Chronicles 23:8, the priestly courses are restored and active under I always have a problem with this name. Apologies. Jehodiah, the priest. Yahudiah. And then Luke 1:5, Zechariah, the father of Yohanan the Immerser, serves in the temple in the course of Abiyah. This may be a bit difficult for you all to see here, but this is, so Kadash 1, Kadash 2, Kadash meaning months, of course. So all 12 months, these are the different priestly orders that will serve throughout each month. And we can see that it rotates. Awesome. So the throne and the 24 elders, and this is Revelation 2 through 4. And immediately I came in the Ruach and saw a throne placed in the Shamayim and seated on the throne. And he who sat there was like a jasper and a ruby stone in the appearance, And there was a rainbow around the throne, like an emerald in appearance. And around the throne were 24 thrones. And on the thrones I saw 24 elders sitting, dressed in white robes. And they had crowns of gold on their heads. Next we have Revelation chapter 5, verse 8. And when he took the scroll, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, each holding a harp and golden bowls filled with incense, which are the prayers of the Kodashim. Then we have Revelation 7, verses 10 and 11. And crying out with a loud voice, saying, Deliverance belongs to our Elohim, who sits on the throne, and to the Lamb, and all the messengers stood around the throne, and the elders and the 4 living creatures, and fell on their faces before the throne and worshipped Elohim. Revelation 11, 16 and 17. And the 24 elders sitting before Elohim on their thrones fell on their faces and worshipped Elohim, saying, We give you thanks, O Yahuah El Shaddai, and the one who is, who was, and who is coming, because you have taken your great power and reigned. Another quick drink I need here. Excuse me. Then we have Revelation 19, verses 4 and 5. Again, speaking about the 24 elders. And here we're going to go into 4Q318, the Dead Sea Scrolls fragment. And this refers to the stations of the moon. And it outlines a complete 364-day calendar year. In reconstructing the entire pattern, all fragments fit together perfectly. Oh, I just realized I need to, there we go. So, confirming the accuracy of this year length. Yeah, there we go. There's the Priestly courses Natalie shared there in the chat as well. So, hopefully they'll be easier to see and read. So, importantly, from the 26th to the 31st day of the 12th month, the calendar shows no extra or void days inserted within the 364-day cycle, showing the divider day is after the 31st day of the 12th month. This means that the calendar is continuous and unbroken, with no additional days added inside the year itself, highlighting a precise and orderly timekeeping system, utilizing the stations of the moon as a witness or a sign. So this was our prior understanding as well, that there was this wheel within the wheel kind of aspect going on. And through thorough study and Marissa's research and things like that, we've learned that that was not correct. And I know Aaron Ryan likes to use that method and things like that. There's others, but we've come to find out that's not proper. And it's these witnesses of the moon that really support and back this up. So we're going to read through 4Q318, also called 4Q Brontology. Goodness, these big words. Sorry, Brontologian. So it goes on to show on the 7th day, we see Sagittarius. On the 8th and 9th, Capricorn. So it's going to show the days of the month and what the Mazzaroth sign is on these specific days of the month in the sky. And, you know, going through all of 318, we can see fragment 1, fragment 2. It will show really a lot of the year. So it kind of makes it easy to fill in the blanks. So everything that's missing. And Sister Marissa did that. Excuse me. Can you explain a bit about this? So the priestly courses, no, that's kind of what we're explaining now. So it's just where the courses were broken up into divisions. And each year there's 24 different divisions of priests that serve. So because they had to do the, excuse me, my voice, they had to do the offerings and things like that, even on high Shabbats and Sabbath days, they didn't have a day off. They were always working. They didn't have a day of rest because they had to do all these priestly duties. So David and then Solomon continued it. They started a priestly course, and it was divided into these 24 priestly divisions. And different divisions would serve depending on which course is going on here. And that's kind of what we're going to go through here. And this is what Sister Marissa had put together from this information from 4Q318. And so I think it's the red that was added, or the red that is there, and then the black that's not added. It's one of those ways. But we see these different, so these are the signs of what Mazarah sign is going to be in the sky during these days. And we'll see a couple days in, Taurus, a couple days in Virgo, things like that. So it lays out what Mazarah signs we're seeing during these different times of the year. Maybe we'll have to go into more detail about all this as well. For those who don't know what the priestly courses are. But as you can see, Sister Marissa put all this together. And yeah, so it's the red that's missing and the black that we have. And we see that month 12, it has the complete month 12. And so in our prior understanding, we thought that in between days, this 28th of the 12th month, which is day 7, and then day 1 of this next week, we thought this is where the void day was. So because of this is what actually changed our understanding, and it's these priestly courses. And we see there is no break in that. So there's 3 here and then 3 here. The most you will get is 3. So there's not going to be like 4 of these signs or 4 of these signs for this divider day. It's just there's no break in the cycle right here. So this really proves out where the divider day lands, and that's right here in between days 3 and 4 at the head of the year. After day 31 of the 12th month, then we have the divider day, the day not counted, the day out of time, the spring equinox. Then the next day after that is the head of the year, the head of months. Yeah, there you go, Sister Natalie. Got some more clear ones there that you shared. And here we have 4 names of the moon for each season of the year. So Enoch 78:2, and the moon has 4 names. The first name is Asonia, the second name Ebla, the third Benes, and the fourth Ere. The Book of Enoch notes that the moon bears 4 distinct names. And observing the moon's stations over 13 Sabbaths at a time may reveal patterns that correspond to the 4 seasonal quarters of the year, which is also found in Jubilees as well, 13 weeks in each season. Not 13 months. People who follow the lunar calendar, that's where they think the 13 fits in. Oh yeah, 13th month. No, it's the 13 weeks each season of the year. So they correspond to the 4 seasonal quarters of the year. These names and cycles reflect the moon's role in bearing witness to a seasonal order, rather than setting the year itself. The sun remains the primary authority in marking the year, with the moon providing a secondary, supportive testimony to the progression of the seasons. So we can see here the 4 different names of the moon. And thank you, by the way, Sister Natalie, for putting all these visuals together as well. But we can see each season of the year. And then you'll see the 3 different months, which is 13 weeks each season. So the lunar stations as a witness. And Jubilees, we're going to read Jubilees 6, 29, and 30. And they placed them on the tablets of the Shamayim. Each had 13 weeks. Their memorial passed from one to another, from the first to the second, and from the second to the third, and from the third to the fourth. And all the days of the command shall be 52 weeks of days, and these shall make the entire year complete. So we don't see in here sometimes a 53rd week of days, every so many years. No. And we've gone over this before, that specific verse in Jubilees 6. And when it continues on, it says, this is the command from year to year, every single year. It doesn't say, well, when you get to 6 or 7 years, insert a week. No, it does not say that. So the rotation of the priestly courses, with priests changing duty each Sabbath, may have aligned with the moon stations, suggesting that the moon's movement through its appointed stations could serve as a visible sign supporting their service. The 13 Sabbath cycles, together with the orderly rotation of the priesthood, provide a second witness for each season and reflect a unified calendrical pattern. This understanding does not overrule the sun in Yahuah's luminary calendar, but presents the moon as an additional witness, working in harmony with the greater light to testify to the appointed order of time. Is it breaking up? Okay. What time are we finishing? Well, we don't have a determined time to finish, but there's not too much left here in this chapter. So we'll be finished reading here not too long from now, but after that, we'll continue on with our fellowship. And if Jermaine is feeling better, continue with her reading in Psalms and Sirach. Okay, it's not breaking up for anyone else. All right. So the witness of the moon and stars. Before we begin this next portion, it's important to understand something about how we track the stars. There's a popular theory known as the precession of the equinox, which suggests that the position of the constellation shifts slowly over thousands of years due to a wobble in the Earth's rotation. However, there's no way to prove this theory through direct observation alone, only through man-made simulations and digital programs like Stellarium. It's important to understand that the theory of the precession of the equinox does not change the sun's yearly path. And so I wanted to clear this up a little bit. So, yes, we do use digital programs to see things, but we can also verify what we're seeing with our own eyes as well when we're using these. And that's the difference I should say Marissa is mentioning here, and I'm mentioning in the book, is the precession of the equinox is not something we can physically verify with our own eyes. So, is it an absolute fact? No. We don't know if it happens or doesn't. It's just some kind of theory that they like to push. And then, of course, they push that theory and add it to the data in these different programs. So that's all I'm saying. So it's important to understand that the theory of the precession of the equinox does not change the sun's yearly path. The sun is the primary light and the main timekeeper in Yahuah's calendar, establishing the great sign mentioned in the Book of Jubilees. The moon and stars simply act as a supporting witness, not a determining factor. In reality, we can only know for sure what we can witness with our own eyes, right now, in the present. The luminaries were created as signs to mark the appointed times and seasons, and the most reliable way to read them is by simply going outside and watching. just as people have done for thousands of years. And when we do that, we look up and we observe with our own eyes. We begin to notice something amazing. There is order, timing, and meaning written in the stars. So let's walk through what it actually means when we say that the sun enters a constellation and how the heavens bear witness to the times we're in. I know we mentioned a lot about this earlier as well in our fellowship. So the ordinance of the stars. The sky is a giant wheel made up of stars, divided into 12 equal sections, each one representing a constellation or Mazzaroth sign. Each of these sections is about 30 degrees wide. At the beginning of a solar month, the sun is positioned right at the start of one of these 30-degree sections. That's what we mean when we say the sun has entered a new constellation. Polaris, the North Star, stands fixed at the head of the northern sky, and across the course of the year, the Big Dipper shifts slowly in the sky. For example, in one season, the bowl may be near the horizon at nightfall, while in another, it appears overhead or on the opposite side of Polaris. And by observing this shift, the ancients could determine which season they were in, tracking the year with the movement of the stars as witnesses. So if you guys didn't know that that symbol that they use, this is exactly where they get it from. It's a sign in the Mazzaroth that Yahuah shows us, that Yahuah uses to show us what season of year we are in. And if you didn't know, if you locate the Big Dipper and you look at this bowl and you go right off that star right in the center is going to be Polaris. They call it the North Star. It's actually pointing directly to that, toroidal vortex cone right in the center is what it is. And all the rest of the luminaries, the stars, even the sun and the moon, they rotate around it. And this is why you'll see the Big Dipper, as it's called, is kind of like hands on a clock to show what season we're in that year. And sorry, checking chat. So, and here's another key sign. So during the first month, the bright star Spica, known in ancient times as the barley star, is not yet visible above the horizon an hour after the sundown. But by the evening before Passover, which falls on April 3rd on the Gregorian calendar, the constellation Virgo, who holds the bright star Spica, rises above the eastern horizon about an hour after sundown. This is really fascinating information actually right here. And this is what the barley star, the barley harvest is really all about, is this sign in the Mazzaroth, not about the barley itself. The barley itself isn't going to determine the year. Again, that's a rabbinical tradition. So the Big Dipper stays close to Polaris all year. Yeah, it does, Sumi. Yeah, and if you follow that bowl like I was showing there, it will point directly to it. So its appearance at this specific time acts as a witness in the heavenly scroll, signaling that the barley is Abib, or ripe. The celestial sign witnesses to the timing of the spring harvest, aligning the agricultural cycle on the earth with the messages written in the heavens, the words of the stars. So here we see it's April 22nd. This is 2025. This is verifiably witnessed by the naked eye as well. So this isn't, just because we use stellarium doesn't mean this isn't something that happened. Yes, this actually, as a matter of fact, happened. But let me continue. So this is April 2nd, and this is just before the sun goes down. And this line right here is going to represent the horizon line. And you see, we're going to see Spica, which is right here, which is in the hand of Virgo. It's going to be visible right above that horizon line. This is that mile marker showing that the next day is Pesach.
I don't
Because
see.
you're gonna, what's that again?
Are you showing something?
Yeah. Can you not see my screen? You should be
No, I
able
just
to.
see white.
Can everybody else?
I can
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah, others can see it.
You might have to log out and then log back in. It's been really weird today for me.
Yeah. Oh, awesome, Angel. You got that PDF of your Paleo Hebrew reconstruction. That's cool. But yeah, so basically what I'm showing here is Virgo. The constellation Virgo is what we know it as. So in her hand here, she's holding, it's the star Spica. It's called the barley star. And so if this was April 1st, you're not going to see it rising above the horizon just before sundown. It's only on April 2nd we start to see it rise above the horizon and then make its way across. And that's the mile marker or the sign that the next day is Pesach. If you're on the phone and zoomed in, you wouldn't see it. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Natalie, for screenshotting it. I need to go find out where it's stored at, but I have that actual file, and it's a lot more clear than it appears here on screen. Perhaps I should actually just remake that file. I think I'm going to do that, and then when I do, I'll share it with everybody. Something in your brain is just clicking. Yeah, I pray it is. So this is that barley star that everyone speaks about. You know, rabbinical Judaism and their calendar, they're obsessed with it and things like that. They think it starts the head of the year. No, it's actually signaling Passover, Pesach. No visuals, all chat on the laptop. Telegram's been acting really strange lately. And, last week we had our fellowship. It kept booting us off, cutting us off, things like that. Wouldn't let me log back on. Hasatan don't like this truth. But anyways, let me continue. So we're going to get into the star leaders, or what's known as a heliacal rising. A heliacal rising happens when a star reappears in the eastern sky just before sunrise, after being hidden by the sun's glare. This first morning appearance marks the star's return to visibility in the yearly cycle, and ancient peoples watched these risings to track the time and the seasons. In Yahuah's design, the star witnesses to the appointed times, and their heliacal risings act as natural markers within his calendar. And Abraham was demonstrating this, and once again, Jubilees 12:16, in how he sat up throughout the night on the head, the HaChodesh of the 7th month, to observe the stars from the evening to the morning. Oh, you have two separate screens there? Maybe that's how it is. Here, maybe I should turn off my camera. Maybe that's a problem. Sorry. I just noticed that it was actually on. But anyways, so these are these star leaders that, why is it like that? Okay. So we're going to see March 19th, and this was 2025 last year. So this was when the equinox happened. And we could see this star Satellemic. You could see it you can still see it just before the sun comes rising. And then once the sun gets too high, it starts to, disappear into the blue sky. Same thing. So June 19th, the star Aldebaran, we see the same thing going on here. Still visible before the sun rises. Then we see Regulus in the fall. And then we see Antares here in the winter. Excuse me. So the months and the stars. The sun is appointed 12 stations along its yearly path, known as the Mazzaroth, which divide the heavens into 12 portions, corresponding to the months of the solar year. Why do I keep misclicking? Sorry. And the sun moves through the Mazzaroth from one station to the next. Its position bears witness to the progression of time and the completion of each solar month. The fixed stars do not rule the year, but stand in their appointed places as signs, forming the backdrop against which the sun completes its circuit, much like the numbers on a clock, how they stand in place to witness the passing of time without actually causing it. So like the numbers on a clock, the numbers on the clock aren't causing time, they're just there to mark it. That's what we're going to see with the stars, the Mazzaroth. So measuring time. As the sun moves through the Mazzaroth each month, its light illuminates different positions of the earth, creating predictable cycles of day and night. Enoch was shown this view from above the earth, from the north, and the 18 divisions of light and darkness described in the book of Enoch reflect what he observed, demonstrating how these cycles are measured and recorded. This provides a visible framework that the moon and stars then witness throughout the year. So again, we see Aries here in month 1. So the full moon, we'll see the full moon in there. So this constellation behind the full moon, it's going to mark the month and season that we are in. Same thing, month 2, we see the full moon. And it'll continue to go on like that for each of the 12 months. So we'll see the different constellations. And this is that sign that Enoch is speaking about. You know, when there's a full moon, it is exactly opposite of the sun. So the star time and the head of days. A sidereal day, the time it takes for the stars to return to the same position, is slightly shorter than a solar day, about 23 hours and 56 minutes and 4 seconds. So over 365 sidereal rotations, the stars complete, a total of 364 solar 24-hour days. This difference shows while the solar year and the stellar cycles do not perfectly align on their own, the head of days serves as a fixed, appointed marker that reconciles these cycles, ensuring that the sun, moon, and stars all move in harmony, and that the year remains ordered according to Yahuah's design. The stars testify to the passing of time, but the head of days anchors the structure of the year. That head of days, that's Yahusha right there. The moon is often misunderstood, and it is more than just a nighttime light. It serves as a marker, a guide, and a witness in the order of the luminaries. Throughout the year when the moon is full, one way it acts as a witness is by standing opposite the sun in the sky, so like we just talked about. And this means that the constellation behind the full moon is always opposite from the one the sun is currently in. So for example, if the sun is in Aries, the full moon will appear in Libra. This gives us yet another visual clue to help confirm the current solar month based on the stars and the moon as a witness. A full moon occurs once a month, So we can see this witness between days 1 and 30 of each solar month. So it's not going to happen like the same exact day each and every month. It's going to vary. And this is actually, zoom out a little bit here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So the orange circle here would be like the sun. These are the 12 Mazzaroth signs. So when there's a full moon, its course is actually directly opposite from the sun. So imagine our plain Earth right here in the center. So when the moon is doing its course, it goes actually slightly faster than the sun. So it will catch up. And the closer its position to the sun, in correlation to the sun, that's how we end up getting the moon phases. That's how we get the left and the right sliver and things like that. So, for example, if the moon started coming this way, you would see the sliver start going from right to left here. And then once it gets directly to the same course, same path as where the sun is at, that's where we're going to see a fully dark moon. And then once it starts going ahead of the sun, that's where we'll see the sliver start to appear on the other side until it gets directly across from its course, and that's where we get a full moon. And so if the sun is in Aries, the moon will be in Virgo, for example. And it's really fascinating. And, you know, you can be lost on a desert island and almost figure out to the day of what month you're in, what season, what time of year. So the aspects of the moon, the photo period, meaning the phases, the slivers, the things like that. So the moon's changing phases create a rhythm of light and darkness, influencing biological cycles and providing a visible witness to the passage of days and nights. The moon's light cycle and its effects. The lunar photoperiod refers to the changing levels of moonlight throughout the phases of the moon over the course of its cycle. The moon's photoperiod month averages about 29.5 days, made up of 6 months with 29 days and 6 months with 30 days. So this is what they average it out to. So compared to the solar months, this creates a difference of 10 days each year. That's why we see in Enoch and Jubilees that the moon falls behind 10 days a year. On the clock, the smaller circle moves, much like the star field moves in the sky above it. Yeah, the Prague clock. Yes, exactly. That's a perfect example of what we're speaking about. Actually, if you go to my WordPress article, I use the Prague clock as the cover photo for that. Also, that Prague clock has to do a lot with that moon map I mentioned earlier as well, from Vibes of Cosmos. Very interesting stuff. Again, I have not dug deep enough to dismiss or confirm any of that. It's something very interesting. Yeah, Vibes of Cosmos, exactly. And so, warning, if you do watch Vibes of Cosmos, they're not believers or anything, but what they found is very fascinating information, and it actually goes with everything we're speaking about here, even that toroidal vortex and the center plane Earth. It'll blow your mind. Anyways, that's why I don't throw it out. I believe it has some legitimacy to it, like absolutely. And the Prague clock, it just kind of confirms all that information, you know? Excuse me. So organisms respond to moonlight levels, not just sunlight. And if you didn't know, moonlight is actually cooler than sunlight. So on a full moon, if you stand in the moonlight, it'll actually be cooler than if you're standing in the shade of a full moon. So it affects coral spawning, fish migration, and even human sleep cycles and other cycles. So nocturnal animals adjust activity levels based on the brightness of the night. Traditional farming practices often time planting and harvesting according to the moon's light. I know Sister Germaine plants by the moon, and we do have a calendar, or sorry, not a calendar, a moon planting tab as well in our library group. So some crops are thought to grow differently depending on the phase of the moon and nocturnal light exposure. The moon's photoperiod doesn't follow 30 days. So Enoch 78:9. And in certain months, the month has 29 days and once 28. So this is talking about these lunar months, not a solar month. And then we have Enoch 78:15 through 17. And 3 months she makes of 30 days. And at her time she makes 3 months of 29 days each, in which she accomplishes her diminishing in the first period of time, and in the first portal for 177 days, and in the time of her going out, as she appears for 3 months, 30 days each, and for the 3 months she appears 29 days each. At night she appears like a man for 20 days each time, and by day she appears like the Shamayim, and there is none else in her save her light. So we covered this a little bit in the last chapter. So it's that Enoch 74:11, the excess of the sun and the stars, and in correlation to the moon falling behind that 30 days. This has everything to do with that. So the moon falls behind 5 days in 6 months. Enoch 79:1 through 6. And now, my son, I have shown you all matters, and the law of all the stars and of the Shamayim is completed. And he showed me all the laws of these for every day, and for every season of the bearing rule, and for every year, and for its going forth, and for its order prescribed to it, every month and every week. In the diminishing of the moon, which takes place in the 6th portal, for in this 6th portal her light is accomplished. And after that, there is the beginning of the diminishing, which takes place in the 1st portal in its season, until 177 days are accomplished, reckoned according to the weeks, 25 and 2 days. And she falls behind the sun and the order of the stars exactly 5 days in the course of one period. So this is just confirming more of what we read in Enoch 74:11. This is just verifying all of that. So she falls behind the sun and the order of the stars 5 days in the course of one period. And when this place which you see has been traversed, such is the picture and the sketch of every light, which Uriel, the chief messenger, who is their leader, showed me. And that's that correlation that we see. The excess of the sun and stars, this is where we get the 1.24 extra days each year. The moon falling behind the 30 days, like it explains there. We couldn't figure it out until, well, all you got to do is read Enoch 79, and it explains it. Yep, the greater light to rule the day, the sun. And it is not sun worship. We are not bowing to the sun. We're not following the sun. We're not blowing shofars at the sun. Let that be a big clue for those who like to blow shofars at the moon on quote-unquote new moon days that came from Babylon. So, gate motion, the moon's path through the heavenly gates. The moon moves through appointed gates in the sky, marking an ordered path and testifying to the progression of time within each cycle. In Enoch chapter 72 through 75, the moon is said to rise and go down through a series of 12 gates. These gates mark the ordered path by which the moon enters and exits the sky each day and night, bearing witness to the progression of time and the rhythm of the month. Gate motion refers to the movement of the moon through its appointed gates in the sky, as described in the book of Enoch. The moon's motion through the gates averages about 29 days, creating a yearly shortfall of about 6 days compared to the solar year. So that's exactly more detail on what we were just talking about. This is distinct from the moon's photoperiod, its waxing and waning cycle, which falls behind about 10 days each year. So both of these cycles reflect Yahuah's appointed order for the moon, but they progress at slightly different rates. The moon's photoperiod falls behind the sun, and Enoch 74:10 through 17. And if 5 years are added together, the sun has an excess of 30 days, and all the days which increase to it for one of those 5 years, when they are full, amount to 364 days. And the excess of the sun and the stars amounts to 6 days in that 5 years. So this is that 1.2 days excess of the sun and the stars. The reason why they say it's like 1.24 and things like that is because, like we just went over, the true length of a day is not exactly 24 hours. It's just shy of it. So this is why we end up with these very close numbers. But anyways, so in this 5 years, the same 6 days every 5 years is not only speaking about the excess of the sun and the stars, but what we just described about the moon. So 6 days every year comes to 30 days, and the moon falls behind the sun and stars to the number of 30 days. This is that excess of the moon. And the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position by a single day unto everlasting, but complete the year with perfect justice in 364 days. In 3 years there are 1,092 days. In 5 years, 1,820. So in that 8 years, there are 2,912 days. For the moon alone, the days amount in 3 years to 1,062 days. And in 5 years, she falls 50 days behind. And so this is why there seems to be a lot of confusion, because, you see this and it's like, wait, 5 years, it says 50 days behind, not 30. Well, the reason why is everything we just explained. It's not the photoperiod. I pray this is all making a lot more sense now. So in 5 years, she falls 50 days behind. To the sum, there is 5 to be added and 62 days. And in 5 years, there are 1,777 days. So that for the moon, the days 6 and 8 years amount to 2,832 days. For in 8 years, she falls behind to the amount of 80 days. All the 17 days she falls behind in 8 years are 80. And the year is accurately completed in conformity with their world stations and the stations of the sun, which rise from the portals through which it rises and goes down 30 days. Yeah, thank you, Sister Natalie, for sharing that. Yeah, Yahuah's timepiece, that covers a lot of it as well in that video. 6 days a year, which is 30 days every 5 years, and it's for the gate motions of the moon, the separate cycle from the photoperiods. Yeah, the lunar station, exactly. So the moon travels, stations of the moon, the mile marker in the year. The moon travels through 24 fixed stations, dividing its path into defined zones that allow the counting of days, alignment with the solar year, and confirmation of seasonal structure, equal segments of 15 degrees each. These stations are appointed by Yahuah to provide structure and rhythm to the moon's motion. As the moon moves from one station to the next, it bears witness to the orderly progression of time, showing the cycle of days and nights within each lunar month. Observing the moon stations allows us to see a consistent pattern in the heavens, reflecting the established order of the year. Did I lose you all? I hope not. Can you all still hear me? Okay. Yeah, maybe just you, Sister Kelly, unfortunately. Anyways, let me continue, sorry. So Enoch 74, verse 17. And the year is accurately completed in conformity with their world stations and the stations of the sun, which rise from the portals through which it rises and goes down 30 days. So really quick, I just wanted to cover, there's some Enoch calendars out there where they try to use the Book of Enoch to claim, look, we're supposed to cite different moons to mark the months and years and things like that. No, they only read chapter 73 of Enoch. They don't read all the other chapters around it that say, hey, look, first goes forth the sun, and it determines these things. So don't be fooled by these Enoch calendars out there that try to say, oh, you cite this silver moon, and that's where we start this and that and another. Nope, they're only reading chapter 73 of Enoch. They don't get past to the other important chapters. I digress. Let me continue. So the 24 lunar stations. So in John 14:2, in my Father's house are many mansions, and this is G3438, and the root word is G3306 from the Strongs, which is a staying, that is a residence, the act or the place, an abode, a mansion. And if not, I would have told you, I go to prepare a place for you. So you can kind of see on the outside here, these are these 24 lunar stations that we're talking about here. And of course, you can see the different months, the vernal equinox right here, the divider day marking that. It may be difficult to see on screen. My apologies. It's definitely easier to read in the book. But this is the lunar stations that we're referring to here. And how you see there's basically like 2 each month of the year that occurs. There you go, Natalie. Thank you. On top of it. So after 10 complete revolutions through the 24 stations, the moon completes roughly 273.2 days. This corresponds to 3 91-day solar seasons. The intercalary days, along with the head of days, act as mile markers along this lunar path. This is that lunation that's described in the Strongs, which is H3391 and H3393. This is that lunation that is mistranslated 12 times as month. It's a lunar cycle. These lunations is what it's actually referring to. So confirming the proper counting of days and the alignment of lunar and solar cycles. And I know there's some verses, I believe they're in Job, and it talks about these lunations. And some people will use that as like, see, look, they're using the moons for months right there. No. It's just they don't understand what's going on. They don't understand it's these lunar stations is what's being counted there. So if you run into that and you see like, oh look, they are talking about the moon here. Well, this is exactly what it's talking about. So confirming the proper counting of days, the alignment of lunar and the solar cycles. These mile markers serve as fixed points in the year, showing the precise timing of the seasons and ensuring the moon's journey, and reflects the structure of the solar year. So from studying the station patterns, two key truths emerge. The head of days aligns with the winter intercalary day. The summer intercalary day aligns with the spring intercalary day. The 364th day of the year, when the sun completes its stay in the third portal, as described in Enoch 72. By following the moon stations and observing the intercalary days, we can see how the moon functions as a second witness to the year and its seasons, independent of the photoperiods of the lunar months, so the slivers. Its consistent movement confirms the order of the days and progression of the seasons. The moon stands in its appointed stations, bearing testimony to the rhythm of Yahuah's timepiece, showing that even though it does not rule the year, it faithfully reflects the structure and the timing of the solar year and the sequence of the seasons. So the moon, a faithful marker and witness of time. The moon does not determine the year as the sun does, yet she serves as a vital role as a witness. H 5707 in the Strongs to the appointed times. She governs H 6213 the night and marks H 2708 the fixed times. H 4150 with consistency and precision. Her movement is appointed and established. H 3559, and these are the Strong's numbers, by the way, in the heavens. And she is described as distinguished and valuable. H 4022 among the luminaries. Through her ordered path, the moon testifies, the H 5707, to the passing of the year, confirming what the sun has put in motion. She does not appoint the year, but she records, or H 5707 it, acting as a visible sign, the oath of Yahuah's timing. And next week, we will get into how Saturday is not the true Sabbath or the seventh day in history. This all pertains very importantly to the calendar. So that's all for chapter 12. I know it was pretty lengthy. I know sometimes some of these things can be very confusing. Trust me, it was to us at first as well. It can be very confusing because of what we've been taught about the moon, how they say we should be going by these slivers or full moons and new moons, and just they're all over the place. But as we can see, these 24 stations, they line up with everything that we see in Scripture. They line up perfectly as these mile markers and witnesses for the year, for each season, for each month. This is how perfectly Yahuah's luminaries work. This is how they perfectly keep the time. They keep the calendar. This is how the sons of Zadok, they kept the true calendar of Yahuah and recorded it in the Dead Sea Scrolls for us. And in Ezekiel 44, they are the ones, the sons of Zadok, who were chosen and ordained by Yahuah to keep the laws, statutes, commands, the calendar, the festivals, everything. They were also ordained by him to settle disputes about it as well. So we have their writings, we have their calendar, we have through scriptures how important they are. Why would we ignore their calendar? I know for a fact we don't here. It's actually one of our endeavors to search this out, and the only reason we have figured so much out is by coming together, working together, bringing that piece of the puzzle we each have to the table. We can't go and Lone Ranger things. It's very difficult. You know, this path is narrow and it's lonely enough. So we all truly need each other, truly. You're on the struggle bus, yeah. You know, if you still have questions or if you're struggling to understand a different point, reach out to either me or Sister Marissa. I know Sister Marissa has a better understanding of the lunar stations and the things like that. So if it's a question about that, I would reach out to her. If it's a question about scriptures and the Dead Sea Scrolls and things like that, I'm very good at that particular topic with the calendar. So yeah, if you still have questions or concerns or you're struggling or confused, you know, like I said before, the only stupid question is the one that's not asked. You know, there's so many important factors in the calendar. There's so many important details, like the importance of the North, for example. Something not many understand. They don't understand the toroidal vortex I was mentioning previously as well. They don't understand the connection not only to the calendar, but to the season of deception we're in as well. It's so very deep, and honestly, all praise to the Most High Yahuah, because it's these deep connections that, you know, I believe, I am convinced that this truly is the calendar. Now, figuring out the Jubilee years and the priestly course, which order we're in and things like that, it's a bit more of a difficult task. You know, finding all this information was difficult enough in the first place. But because our history is so rewritten, twisted, hidden, it's hard to pinpoint these different things. You know, where exactly on the timeline are we? Can't say exactly. But in my mind, I truly believe we are in that little season of deception, and time is very short. Which, by the way, Sister Miranda is going to be covering next week. Is she in here? Let's see. I don't see her. She must have left. She was here earlier, but anyways, sorry. Next week, next Shabbat, Sister Miranda is going to be covering part 2 of the season of deception. What she's revealed to me is very fascinating, very mind-blowing. So prepare to have some interesting points of views backed up through scriptures and historical evidence and facts, and different points of view about it as well. So I'm super excited for that. And that'll be next Shabbat, actually, our next Shabbat fellowship. Let's see. What are we at? 2 hours and 10 minutes. Went a bit longer than I expected to read chapter 12, just a single chapter, but you know, there's a lot of details to cover. I know that there really still is a lot of details to cover. I know Marissa's gone over their priestly courses a few times on her videos. I know I've covered it a few times. Maybe that's something else we'll have to go into more detail about it. And, you know, like I said, same with the sonoluminescence, the cymatics, all these things as well. So, you know, I'll definitely get something together that we can cover, not next Shabbat, but probably the one after, since we have Miranda's presentation next week. But all these different aspects we're covering, what we covered the last 2 weeks, what we're covering now, what we're going to cover next week, they all connect very importantly, very deeply to the word of Yahuah, especially because the word of Yahuah, when he speaks, it creates vibration, cymatics. His voice is the vibration, the frequency of life is what it is. And again, this is one of those topics that, they like to label as, oh, whoa, that's New Age, stay away from all that. That's crazy. No, it is really not. And trust me, we do not follow or promote New Age here at all. We actually expose all of that. But what I do want to expose is how they take these little things, they twist it and manipulate it so they can therefore turn the truth into a lie and then use it how they see it. They take what's good and use it for evil. So I don't want to scare anybody into thinking like, whoa, these guys, like, they're talking about something crazy here. And no, it's we can back it all up through scripture. Yeah, I speak Yahuwah's Barak upon us in the end of the teaching. Yeah, sure, brother. If you are led to, be in Palau over Barakoth for all of us here, I know we can all use a hedge of protection. We can all use strength, uplifting, just that endurance to be able to make it to the end. There's times, and I'm not exempt from this myself, because, there's been times I've felt like, just thrown in the towel. And that's really where the enemy fights us hard. When he wants us to throw in the towel, he wants us to feel some sort of way. He wants to throw all kind of distractions out there for us to stumble us up. And the trials, the tribulations, they build the character, but it doesn't make it any easier to go through. It doesn't make the pain of going through certain trials and tribulations any easier to go through. But it does refine us like gold in the fire. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit teary-eyed there. I don't mean to, but it's so very true. It's the trials and tribulations, they build character, they refine us, they teach us to do better and be better as well. And they teach us to self-reflect. So many different lessons can be gathered from it. So expect these trials and tribulations, and they're just part of the part of the walk. Only sleep between midnight or 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. That's quite the sleep schedule there, Brother Kelly. From midnight to 6 a.m. But hey, if that works for you, if that's, how your body works and reacts, go for it, brother. Fast metabolism. Not a lot of need for sleep. To be honest, I'm the same way. As you can see, I have a fast metabolism. I can eat all day, every day, and not gain a pound. It's a blessing and a curse at the same time. I guess I could say that. Stop bragging. I'm not trying to brag, Sister Heidi. No, for real though. It's a blessing and a curse. It really is. But our bodies are his temple. If a method works for you, go for it. If a different method works for somebody else, go for it. We are all made special and beautiful to Yahuah and differently. And that's what makes us really amazing. That's what enables it for us to bring that piece of puzzle, our piece of the puzzle, to the table. Just come together. Complete opposite. Need at least a 45-minute to an hour nap every day. I feel that though too as well, Lisa. Like 100%. Just mentioning in case anyone wants to talk later that are mostly up. Yeah. And in our fellowship here, like I've mentioned before, and you all have probably noticed, there are people from all across the earth, from Australia, South Africa, the UK, the US, really all over. So no matter what time of day or night or whatever it may be for you, there's probably going to be somebody up in the chat that will respond. Don't know what you're talking about. Just heard the word nap. Go take a nap, Sumi. Perfect time for you. Yeah. And, I know we've gone over like health and temple maintenance, things like that before in the past. I've been red flagged and given strikes on my channel just for discussing Yahuwah's natural remedies, but maybe that's something else we can cover again. Really, I enjoy going over all these different topics. And that's really important. The maintenance of our temples, our bodies. Missed your 2 o'clock nap. Well, you're here with us, sister. Come on, don't complain. No, I know. I'm just being silly. Sorry. So, yeah, that was chapter 12 of my book. I don't know if you are feeling up to doing the Psalms and Sirach reading, Jermaine. I know you've been going through it for real. I've been keeping you in prayer as well.
Hey, yeah, I'm all right to go, or as long as I can go.
Awesome. Perfect. Yay.
Can you hear
Yahuah.
me? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you okay, sister. I'll go ahead
Okay.
and I'll shut off my video and such so you can be focused on here.
Oh, that's fine. That's okay. I've just turned my whole screen off because my battery is low. But yeah, I've just got you all sitting on my chest, and the phone is directed to my mouth. Psalm 57 in the Lexham English Septuagint. For the end, do not utterly destroy, by David for inscription. Sorry, so it'll be your Psalm 58 in the normal scriptures. If truly then you speak righteousness, judge upright things, O sons of humans. For even in your heart you perform lawless acts. In the land your hands plot wrongdoing. Sinners alienated from the womb. They are led astray from the womb, and they speak falsehood. Their rage is according to the likeness of the serpent, as a deaf adder, also stopping up its ears, which does not hear the voice of those singing chants, and a magician using enchantments with skill. Alayam broke their teeth in their mouth. Yahuah crushed together the molars of the lions. They will be set to naught as water going through. He will stretch his bow till they stumble. As beeswax melting, they will be removed. As fire has fallen, and they did not see the sun. Before your brambles, notice the thorn. He will devour you as alive, as in wrath. The righteous will be cheerful when he sees the vengeance of the ungodly. He will wash his hands in the blood of the sinner, and a person will say, surely then there is fruit for the righteous one. Therefore Eliam is judging them in the land. 58. For the end, do not utterly destroy by David for inscription when Saul went and watched his house to kill him. Deliver me from my enemies, O Eliam, and redeem me from those who rise up against me. Rescue me from those who work lawlessness, and save me from men of bloodshed. Because look, they hunted my soul. Strong men lay hold upon me. Nor was it my lawlessness, nor was it my sin, O Yahuah. Without my lawlessness they ran, and I went directly. Rise up to meet me and see. And you, O Eliam, and you, O Yahuah, the Eliam of mighty powers, the Eliam of Yahusha, pay attention to visit all the nations. Do not have pity upon all who are working lawlessness. They will return in the evening, and they will be hungry as a dog, and they will encircle the city. Look, they speak in their mouth, and a sword is in their lips, for they think, who is heard? And you, O Yahuah, will laugh at them. You will scorn all the nations. My strength I will keep with you, because you, O Eliam, are my helper. O Eliam, his mercy will come near to me. My Eliam will show to me victory among my enemies. Do not kill them, lest they forget your law. Scatter them in your power and bring them down. O Eliam, my protector, because of the sin of their mouth and the word of their lips, let them be captured in their arrogance. Then, by their cursing and lying, they will be announced, and destruction, in the wrath of destruction, and they shall not be. They will know that the Eliam of Jacob is Yahuah over the ends of the earth. They will return in the evening, and they will be as hungry as a dog, and they will encircle the city. They will be scattered abroad to eat, but if they are satisfied, also they will murmur. But I will sing to your power, and I will rejoice greatly in the morning by your mercy, for you were my helper, and a place of refuge in the day of affliction, my helper. To you I will sing psalms, O my Eliam, because, O my helper, you are my Eliam, my mercy. Beautiful.
Love it. Thank you, sister. It is very beautiful.
And so is there no cutting out? You're not hearing me cut out or anything?
No, you sound fine.
Okay. Because when I was listening to you guys
Encouragement.
or you, oh, sorry. Yeah, no, it was cutting out for me, so I was worried that I might cut out for you when I'm talking, but it's all good. So over in Wisdom of Sirach, chapter 29. The one who does mercy will lend to his neighbour. Sorry, my eyes are going a little bit funny these days. Just laying on my back all the time and looking down through my my eyes are going a bit funny. It's a bit hard to read. Sorry, start again. The one who does mercy will lend to his neighbour, and the one who strengthens with his hand keeps the commandments. Lend to your neighbour in his time of need, and repay your neighbour again at the proper time. Establish your word and be trustworthy with him, and you will find what you need every time. Many considered a loan as if it were unexpected fortune, and caused affliction for those who helped them. He will kiss his hands until he receives it, and he will lower his voice about his neighbour's possessions. But at the time for repayment, he will delay for time, and respond with words of indifference and complain about the time. If he has the power, he will recover hardly half, and he will count it as unexpected fortune. But if not, he has robbed him of his wealth and made him an enemy, not without cause. He will respond to him with curses and abuse, and he will respond to him with dishonour instead of honour. Many have turned back for the sake of evil, fearing to be defrauded without cause. Nevertheless, be long-suffering over the humble, and you shall draw him aside over alms. Help a poor man for the sake of the commandment, and do not turn him away empty according to his need. Lose your silver for a brother and a friend, and do not let it rust under a stone for destruction. Set your treasure according to the commandments of the Most High, and it will profit you more than gold. Deposit alms in your storehouse, and this will deliver you from every affliction. More than a shield of strength and more than a spear of might, it will fight for you against your enemy. A good man will be surety for his neighbour, but the one who has lost all shame will leave him. Do not forget the favour of your supporter, for he has given his soul on your behalf. A sinner will overthrow his supporter's goods, and the ungracious in thought will forsake his rescuer. Being surety has destroyed many who were prosperous, and has shaken them like a wave of the sea. It has exiled mighty men, and they wandered among foreign nations. The sinner who has fallen into surety and pursues gain will fall into judgments. Help your neighbour according to your ability, and take care that you not fall. The beginning of life is water and bread and clothing and a house that covers shame. Better is the life of the poor under the shelter of a beam than sumptuous meat among strangers. Have satisfaction with little and great. A wicked life is from house to house, and where it will lodge, it will not open its mouth. You will entertain strangers and give drink to the ungrateful, and for the bitter you will listen to these words. Come, sojourner, set a table, and if there is anything in your hand, feed me. Away, sojourner, from a face of honour. My brother is being hosted by me. There is a need of hospitality. These things are burdens for a person having wisdom, criticism from the household, and the reproach of a moneylender. 30. The one who loves his son will continue his scourge, so that he might make merry at last. The one who disciplines his son will benefit by him, and he will boast about him among acquaintances. The one who teaches his son will make his enemy jealous, and he will rejoice over him before his friends. His father died, and it is like he had not died, for he has left after him one who is like him. During his life he saw and rejoiced, and at his end he was not grieved. He has left behind an avenger against enemies, and one who repays kindness to friends. He will bind up his wounds concerning souls of sons, and his insides will be troubled at every cry. An untamed horse goes away stubborn, and a son let loose turns out unruly. Nurture a child, and he will astonish you. Play with him, and he will grieve you. Do not laugh with him, lest you suffer with him. And at last you will grind your teeth. Do not give him authority in his youth. Bruise his side when he is young, lest he become stubborn and resist you. Discipline your son and work with him, lest you stumble by your shame. Better a poor person who is healthy and strong in constitution than a rich person who is whipped in his body. Health and fitness are better than any gold. In a strong body than immeasurable wealth. There is no wealth better than a health. Boy, that hit. So true.
Yeah, no, I feel that, Jermaine. Like, truly, it's amazing how we were just talking about that, the health and fitness, things like that. I'm praying for you, sister. We're all praying for you here, 100%. You got this. Yahuah has you.
Yeah. Okay. There is no wealth better than the health of the body. And there is no gladness surpassing joy. Sorry, I can't see anymore.
Let out
I
those
can't
healing
see.
tears, Jermaine. Let them out. They're healing to the bones.
Yeah. Sorry, I just couldn't see the tears. Tears were in my eyes, and I don't have a tissue. Hang on.
No apologies necessary, sister. I feel you. You know, we're all here for you. And we all are keeping you in prayer, too.
I'm so thankful for you guys. Oh, okay, just trying to get my eyes back. Death is better than a bitter life or a chronic illness. Like good things poured out on a closed mouth is laying an offering of food on the grave. Hang on. My eyes are still just, hang on, because I'm laying on my back and my tears welled up and they just got stuck in my eyes. Hang on, sorry. What benefit is a burnt offering to an idol, but it can neither eat nor smell? So is the one punished by Yahuah, seeing with his eyes and sighing, like a eunuch embracing a virgin and sighing. Do not grieve your soul to grief, and do not afflict yourself with your own counsel. Merriment of the heart is the life of a person, and the rejoicing of a man is length of days. Love your soul and encourage your heart, and remove sorrow far from you, for sorrow has killed many, and there is no profit in it. Jealousy and anger shorten days, and anxiety brings old age before the proper time. Got to the end. And I have to think about that last bit there too. But
Yeah,
I'm
no,
trying
you did good.
really hard.
You did good, sister. And, that was Sirach Angel. Yeah, no, appreciate you reading, sister. And I know I have been diligently keeping you in prayer. I know many of us have been. And, you know, it kind of goes with what I was speaking about at the beginning of our fellowship. You know, we've all been struggling through these various struggles and trials and tribulations, you know, whether it's, you know, with our bodies, whether it's, you know, something around us, whether it's, you know, losing loved ones or someone close to us, in any way, you know, whatever feelings or emotions and things like that that can overwhelm us. I know we've all been struggling through it, and it comforts me to know that you all have my back, and I hope it comforts you to know that I have every one of your backs as well. Yes, pray every night and morning, praying for healing and a hedge of protection, truly. And that's what we should be doing, diligently staying in prayer. And I know the enemy likes to distract us with different pains, emotions, whatever it may be. And it's okay to feel these different emotions and things like that. It doesn't make anybody any lesser for feeling any kind of you know, Yahuah made us in our image. He feels as well, so we're definitely going to feel. And just know that he sees our sufferings and our pains. He gathers up all of our tears. It's a verse there in Psalms, you know. He collects our tears. But yeah, thank you, sister. I truly appreciate that. We appreciate your reading, and we appreciate your fellowship as well. And let's see, we got almost at 3 hours here. Yeah, I'll say that, Natalie. Shabbat Shalom, sister. I was about to say, you know, if anybody has any other questions or anything, you know, feel free to say it or speak up, type it. If not, I think we may end it there for today. And again, next week for next Shabbat, Miranda will be doing her presentation. Looking forward to that. We try to have our midweek midrashes on Saturdays in the afternoons. And the notification buttons will always be in that top right corner. It should show everyone's local time. Tap it to get notified as well. But I really enjoy fellowshipping with all of you. I really enjoy the
Whenever you
fellowship.
guys are ready, I'll go ahead and speak the barakah.
Oh, yeah. No, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Okay. Yahuah al-Masha la-Amar dabar al-Ahram wa-al Banayu la-Amar ka tabaraku at Banai Yashar al-Amuar Hamas Yabarak Yahuah Hua Yasham Marakas Ya'ar Yahuah Hanayu Alayak Huayak Huayachan Nakas Yasha Yahuah Hanaya Hanayu Alayak Huayasham Lak Shalumas. Okay. And in English, this is how you are to Barak Yasharal. Say to them, Barak you. May Yahuah barak you and keep you to shine. May Yahuah cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. Lift up. May Yahuah his countenance towards you and give you shalom. Aman, amat.
Barak Yahuah. Thank you, brother.
Barak
Appreciate
Yahuah.
that. Yeah, much love to each and every one of you. Shabbat Shalom to you all. I pray you all enjoy the rest of your days or evenings, wherever you're at. We'll see some of you here on Saturday for our midweek midrash, and pretty excited for next week's Shabbat fellowship. Looking very much forward to it. I love each and every one of you, and just thank you for everything that you all do, truly. Shabbat Shalom Mishpacha, and we will see you very soon.